if you were to look at the civilian ammo situation in America before the election, I would argue it was very fragile. If you go back about 8, 9 months, and then even a year, and maybe even before that, that stretch of time, we had our U.S. military generals saying we have an ammo shortage. Now, as civilians, that didn't make sense to us because we go to your favorite gun store and there's your favorite ammo and prices are coming down, there's an abundance. None of this makes any sense. What they're talking about is there was this mass export of large munitions, so 110 millimeter shells. Those larger shells were being shipped to Ukraine. To the point where we had depleted our reserves. About a month ago, it was declared that a war with China, we would run out of ammo in 1 week because of this depletion. Now, and this is all before the election. Now, in addition to that, what we had was we had 2 new factories being built. We had there was a 110 millimeter shell factory built in Ukraine so they could be more self-sufficient. That was a big help, based off of the Scranton, Pennsylvania U.S. Army plant that has been sending them those. So he came, Zelensky came and he checked out the plant and then they opened up their own plant. But in addition to that, there's also been further plants opened up in Europe, and the EU is vowing to be self-sufficient when it comes to the European security in general. And they were shipping, and that gave us a little bit of a relief, but just a little bit of relief. Now, how did that affect civilian ammo? Well, it does in such a way that if you recall the last ammo shortage that we had starting in 2020, the biggest problem was not that we didn't have any lead or brass at first. Brass did run low after a while, but the primers was the biggest problem. The primers, in addition to some of the raw material in general. And those 110 millimeter shells just take gigantic primers. So it's really using the same components just on a much, much, much larger scale. And the reason that our civilian ammo is so abundant, and again, we're still talking about pre-election, the reason that our civilian ammo is so abundant is that there was no run on ammo. There's not, most people that are gunners, so to say, they were stocked up back probably before 2020, and if not, definitely by the time the ammo shortage ended, they had closets filled with ammo. And so there's not really this mad rush on ammo. Like, most people have ammo, so there's not even though there's a lot of ammo being produced, there's not a lot being sold. So this ammo shortage, so to say, doesn't make sense to the civilians because it doesn't reflect our civilian market. Now, also what you had in the mix, and I don't mean to give you a little history, we're just talking about the history of the last couple of years, but recently you have Vista Outdoors being sold to the Czech group out of Czech Republic. And that's still in the works. Whether that's going to come through or not, nobody knows. They have come to an agreement. That's not cool. That's not good. Also, what you have is you have Ammo Inc. having lied to people about their value, and now they're going down in flames. Meanwhile, there's lawsuits like crazy. There's your 2 biggest civilian ammo producers in the U.S. And then you have the U.S. Army producing civilian ammo in the form of 5.56 and 9 millimeter, as well as some 7.62 NATO. But that's the civilian aspect, but it's just those 3 calibers. And the problem with that is they have demolished some of their facilities to bring in a new era of the new rifle caliber for the U.S. military. So that 5.56 is kind of going down in volume of what they're producing. 9 millimeter is doing great. But you got a lot going on. Those are our three largest producers of civilian ammo in the US, and none of them are stable right now. So this is pre-election. And meanwhile, if I put out videos about it, people are like, oh, bad news. We don't want to hear that. Because we see ammo on the shelves, but this is reality. This is the reality of our ammo situation before the election. All right, post-election. What's this look like? Well, since the election, what you've had is you've had the EU come together in a stronger way than usual and dedicate to bump up their defense spending by an additional 2% because they desire to be not reliant on the US. They're a little fearful of what is about to come as far as NATO and that sort of thing. So their goal is to build up such a defense system producing ammo as well that they don't rely on the US. They're kind of a military power when you put all the EU countries together as one. And that's really kind of what they're going for, is kind of a united EU military strength, so to say. And they're boosting production, they're boosting spending. And again, they've been already in the process of building factories to produce that ammo. So what you have is really, I think, a couple good things when it comes to ammo in this situation. This election has taken place. One, Europe's like, we gotta make our own ammo. We can't rely on them anymore. That's good. That is good. You know, they shouldn't rely on us. They should be dependent on themselves. That's a better state of comfort, in my opinion. I mean, if I ran the EU, I'd want that too, regardless of who the president was. But in addition to that, what you're most likely going to see is all of that spending and aid to Ukraine, I think, is going to be cut. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But my prediction is it's going to be cut. So all of that, there's not going to be any more shipping of ammo from the Scranton, Pennsylvania plant to Ukraine. Is if I was a gambling man, that's what I would put it on, is no more 110 millimeter shells from the US. Now, because of that, and because of, I believe, pro-Second Amendment and gunners, I'm going to put in the quotes again, gunners, people are just out shooting a lot. I believe that they're in a way like they're kind of glad that the ammo situation is going to get better. And often what that leads to is prices coming down. So I believe post-election that there's going to be an abundance of ammo and that prices are going to come down dramatically because of what's taking place in Europe primarily. So there you go. Any thoughts or insight on any of this? Definitely put it below. Do want to take a moment, say most people watch this channel, hey, they're not subscribers, click that subscribe button. It's free, it's right down there, and it greatly increases the algorithm and our ability to get these messages out. But the most important part of this channel, we take prayer requests. So please don't ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.